So, in today's webinar, I'm going to present you the new stuffs that are introduced in Volume 2 2021, both for Blazor and Essential JS2 components. And let's deep dive into the topic first. So, the basic agenda of this webinar is we'll see the new updates that are introduced in Volume 2 2021 for both the Blazor and web components. And finally, we'll see how to work with dynamic components in Blazor. So we all know the new concept dynamic component is being introduced in .NET 6 preview. So we'll see how to we'll see how to render the Blazor components dynamically by making use of the dynamic component with a simple demo at last. Okay, so now the general update that is available for all the Blazor components is a new Tailwind CSS theme has been introduced. So now you can make use of this theme. You can apply this theme to all the Blazor components of Syncfusion. In addition to the other themes like Material, Fabric, Bootstrap. So Tailwind CSS theme has been newly added, which you can which you can apply for all the Blazor components of Syncfusion. Okay, so the next update in Blazor is a new diagram component. So the native Blazor component library for creating diagrams is being introduced in this Volume 2 2021 release. So we are releasing this in the preview mode now. So with this diagram component, you can experience better performance than the existing diagram control in the Blazor WebAssembly application. So using this, you can create flowcharts, organizational charts, and BPMN either using code behind or using the visual interface. So it also comes with variety of basic features you can perform you can perform basic interactions, snapping, grid lines, serialization. So you can utilize any of its basic features available in this component. So this is one such cool update regarding the diagram component. Next, moving on to the features that are added in Data Grid for this Volume 2 2021 release is lazy loading with grouping. So with this feature, you can load the child data on demand. Say for example, here you can see the grouped records, and you can also see the child items of those records when you expand them. So at the initial loading, all these records are rendered in the collapsed mode, and so only when I click a specific item or when I click a specific grouped record, the the child data of the clicked item will be loaded based on the demand. That is when a particular grouped item is expanded. So the next feature is frozen rows and columns at right side. The data grid already supports the frozen rows and columns at left side, and now this feature is available at right side as well, so that you can freeze the specific rows and columns at the right side and make the remaining grid content scrollable. And the next feature with data grid is frozen columns with virtualization. So now with this feature, you can enable frozen columns along with virtualization feature enabled in the grid. So whenever you load large amount of data, you can now enable the frozen columns along with that, and with no performance issues, you can load the data on demand along with frozen columns enabled. Now, next, moving on to the scheduler features, a new adaptive layout has been introduced. So, with this feature, you can render the mobile adaptive layout in the desktop, as well as you can also render the desktop layout in the mobile devices. And the interval support has been introduced for the year views. So now you can customize the total number of months to be displayed in a year by using the interval support provided in the year views of both horizontal and vertical views. And next, print improvements is added to the agenda view. So now you can print all the appointments instead of printing only the appointments that present in the viewport, only in the agenda view. Next, we have also improved the performance of the scheduler by 25% in both the Blazor server as well as the WebAssembly application. And next, moving on to the Gantt chart features, virtual scrolling support has been provided to the Gantt chart. So now you can load a large amount of data with no performance degradation, and you can also reduce the DOM elements weight just by virtually updating the DOM during the vertical scrolling. And next, the edit template feature has been added. You can add any custom component to a column where you are intent to make changes. And the next feature is dynamic object data binding. So now you can bind the data to the Gantt chart as a list of dynamic objects. So whenever you are not sure about the model type, during the compile time, you can make use of this dynamic object data binding. So the same support has also been included to the tree grid as well. And apart from that dynamic object data binding, to the tree grid component, virtual scrolling with remote data feature has also been included. So now you can retrieve the data from a remote service based on the demand, and then you can render it as the row elements in your DOM. So this is how the virtual scrolling with remote data works. Next, moving on to the data manager features, named HTTP client usage support is added, with which you can inject a named HTTP client instance directly to the data manager component. And moving on to the word processor features, text box shape with square wrapping style is being introduced, and also the image position and wrapping style has also been introduced. So this is nothing but you can see the text box shape over here with square wrapping style. So you can view this particular text box shape with the square wrapping style. This is what it has been preserved over here. So this particular support has been added. And next is image position and wrap styles. The wrapping style. So this is nothing but you can see the image over here. So it has its own position properties and wrapping styles. So you can now preserve these properties as well now when viewing it in the Word document. So next, moving on to the Kanban features, freeze swim lane rows. So now you can freeze the swim lane row at the top. So you can notice the row over here, which changes its name only at the time of scrolling. Next to the rich text editor component, list style types has been added. So there are both unordered and ordered list. So with the available style types, you can change the appearance of bulleted list, which you can which you can apply to the unordered list, and you can even change the numbering formats which is applied to the ordered list. And next, moving on to the pivot table, the features newly added to the pivot table component is fields panel. So the fields panel is being located at the top of the grouping bar. So this particular panel will display the fields that are available in the data source, but it is not bind to the report actually. And next, a new median aggregation type is being added in addition to the existing sum, count, min, max, and so on. there are existing aggregation types available. So in addition to that, a new median aggregation type has been added. And next, inline editing option has been provided. So now whenever you want to change a particular cell value, you can edit them inline without making use of the external edit dialog. And the multiple axis support has also been provided to the pivot chart. So now you can display multiple values or measures in the single axis, just like how you can view over here. So the multiple measures are being displayed in a single axis. And the palette support has been added for accumulation chart types. So the accumulation chart types like pie, donut, and pyramid, funnel now supports a palette. So now you can easily customize the default color of the chart series and its plotted points. So these are the update regarding the Blazor components. Now moving on to the updates for VS Code extensions and VS extensions of Syncfusion. To the Syncfusion Blazor Template Studio and the uh, project conversion wizard, a new Tailwind CSS theme has been added. So you might be aware of the Template Studio through which you can create the Blazor applications more easily. So now during the application creation process, you might have noticed the theme selection option. So to that option, Tailwind CSS theme has been added in addition to the other available themes. So this is one such new item added to the VS Code extension. And to the the Visual Studio extension, support for Visual Studio 2022 has been added. So that all the VS extensions, Syncfusion, Blazor Template Studio, Code Generator, Scaffolding, Conversion and Migration Wizard will all now be supported to work with Visual Studio 2022. And also Tailwind theme has been added to all these extensions as well. So apart from that, authentication option has been enabled in Template Studio. So usually when you create a Blazor application by making use of Syncfusion Blazor Template Studio, the authentication option is not present in the previous uh, earlier time, but now the authentication option has been enabled so that you can make use of it while creating the Blazor applications through the Template Studio. So that's all about the updates for Blazor. And now moving on to the new updates in Essential JS2 for this Volume 2 2021 release. So as I said earlier for the Blazor update, so this is one such common update, just like how the Tailwind CSS theme is newly added to all the Blazor components. In the same way, for all the Essential JS2 components, the theme is available. The same Tailwind CSS theme is available, so you can start making use of it. And to the chart component, a new spline range area chart type has been added. So now you can view the set of continuous data points as a collection of splines with both the high and low values, so across the different categories. And next to the date picker, time picker, and date time picker components, masked date and time inputs support has been added. So now you can enter the valid input dates with the correct format during the data entry. So with the date picker, you can enter the valid input dates, and to the time picker, you can enter the valid input time, and to the date time picker, you'll be able to type the valid input date and times during the time of data entry. Next, moving on to the data grid features. Now you can drag and drop the records with visual scrolling being enabled in the grid. And next, editing with column virtualization. So now the editing support has been enabled when column virtualization is applied. So here you can see the column virtualization is being enabled, and along with that editing action is also being performed. And next, moving on to the word processor features, we have already seen the text box shape with square wrap style as well as image position and wrapping styles while discussing about the Blazor component updates. So apart from those two features are applicable in Essential JS2 platforms as well. And apart from that, an additional feature is being added to this Essential JS2 word processor. So table paste options. So now you can copy and paste the table, to the existing table, just as a new row or as a new column or even as the nested table. Next to the Gantt chart component, time zone support has been added. So now it is possible to view the scheduled date values in a specific time zone. And to the Kanban feature, the free swim lane rows support has been added, so which we have already seen while discussing uh, about the Blazor updates. So let me skip that over here. And next to the PDF viewer component, annotations and form designer support has been added. So now you can add annotations like shapes, measurements, stamps, or sticky notes, or anything as an annotation programmatically. Also, these annotations are now supported in mobile browsers as well. And next, regarding this form designer, now you can include the form fields like the text box, checkbox, radio button, combo box, signature field, and any of the form fields you can include them programmatically or through the user interaction. So this is one such cool update with the PDF viewer component. And these two updates we have already discussed with the Blazor updates. So to the rich text editor feature, list style types has been added, and to the pivot table we have already seen about the fields panel. So let me skip these components here. And to the scheduler features, again adaptive layout is added, and the next feature is the first month of the year. Now you can customize the scheduler year view to display a specific month as its first month. So here you can see the March month is being displayed as the first month of the year. So in this way this particular feature will work. And year views, interval and template support. So we have seen the interval support, customize the number of months to be displayed in the year view, which we have already seen. And in addition to that, uh, to the year view, now the template support has been added. So now you can customize the day and month header by making use of the template support. And again print enhancements has been added so that you can print all the appointments in agenda view. And next to the stock chart, legend support has been added. So now you can toggle the visibility of series just by clicking the required name from here. So that's all about the features that are added in this volume 2 2021 release, both in Blazor as well as Essential JS2 platforms. So now let's move on to the demo. So through this demo, we'll see, we'll learn how to work with dynamic components in Blazor. So we all might have already used the render fragment or render tree builder to dynamically build or to dynamically render the components in our Blazor application. But this dynamic component feature, it makes our code more cleaner when compared to the previous render fragment or any other code. So it makes the code much simpler and more cleaner as well. So it is just like that. We just need to pass the type as well as the parameters, I mean the required optional parameters to the component, so that whatever components we need to dynamically render, it will automatically render in a more faster way as well. So let's see how it works in a simple demo. So before moving on to the demo, these are the prerequisites to work with Blazor Dynamic Component. So you need to install .NET 6 Preview 1 or later version, and you should have Visual Studio 2019 latest release versions. Um, so you can also make use of Visual Studio 2022 preview version. So I'm going to make use of Visual Studio 2022. So now let's move on to the demo. First, let me explain what we are going to achieve. So first, we are going to create a simple drop down with two options, which you can see over here: employee details and meeting schedules. So whenever I choose a particular option, based on that, the component should be rendered below that drop down. So here you can see the grid component displaying the employee details. So this is the initial selection set to the drop down, and based on the selection, the component will be rendered over here. So now I choose meeting schedules, and you can see the scheduler component is rendering dynamically. And if I again switch back to employee details, you can see the grid component displaying the employee details. So now for the demo purpose, I'm going to keep only two options over here. In the same way, you can have n number of options to the drop down, and based on the selection you can pass whatever components you want to display over here. So now let's move on to the code section. So let me open the Visual Studio 2022 preview now. I'll create a new project. So I'm going to choose Blazor WebAssembly. Next. And I'll name my application as Blazor Dynamic. And you can see the .NET 6.0 preview version here, framework. So let it be, and I'll click create. Okay, so the project is created now. Now first I'll install the Syncfusion Blazor component packages. So I'll open the NuGet package, right click over the project name and choose manage NuGet packages. So in the browse tab, I'll search for syncfusion.blazor, and here you can see the latest update of syncfusion.blazor. So I'll install it. So now you can check the syncfusion.blazor package over here, and then I'll go to the index.html page under this www root folder, and in that HTML file head section, I'll add reference to the CSS. So link href equal to, so I'll refer it from the static assets. So content syncfusion.blazor slash styles slash. So I'll refer bootstrap for CSS. And next, inside the program.cs, refer the namespace syncfusion.blazor and then make a call to the add syncfusion.blazor method. So once it is done inside this program CS file, now moving on to the imports.razor file. As I said that I'm going to make use of drop downs component as well as grid component and scheduler component. So let me make use of three namespaces. I'm going to refer three components using syncfusion.blazor dot drop downs package syncfusion.blazor dot grids and blazor dot schedule. So I'm referring it over here, inside this imports.razor file, so that I can make use of these components anywhere inside this pages folder. So now I'll open index.razor component and let me remove the other code, and first we'll add drop downs component over here. So I'm going to add SF drop down list. So we have to add properties to the drop down list. So let's see, before that, let's create the data source for this drop down list. So I'll add code section. So inside this code section, I'll create a class drop down options, and here I'm going to create three properties. So I have defined three properties: CNAME, CType and params. So this is nothing but the component name, component type and params. Next I need to populate data for the drop down list. So for that I'll define the onInitialized method. So inside this onInitialized method, I'm going to populate data for the drop-down list. So before that, let me create a list variable with of type drop-down options. So private options. So inside this on initialized method, to this select options variable, I'll create two values. So to the CNAME property, I'm going to add employee details, and to the C type, so this C type is nothing but the component type. So before we assign any component over here, I need to create two components first. So let me add a new folder. Say dynamic components, and inside that dynamic components, let me add a new razor component. Say for example, I'll name it as salesperson details. So where I'm going to display a grid component, and I'll create another component to display the scheduler. So let me name it as meeting schedules. So I'll add it. So now you can see two components are being added under this dynamic components folder. So inside this index razor, now here to the employee details, I can add this salesperson details component. So before I start to make use of that, I'll refer that dynamic components um, folder over here. So using laser dynamic components. So now I can access those two components, meeting schedules and salesperson details, um, over here. So in to this C type, let me add type of salesperson details dot assembly qualified name, and next to the params. So let's look on to this params property later. So I'll remove this. First we'll add the data required for the drop down to render the drop down component first. So in the same way, new drop down options. C type equal to type of, and here I should add meeting schedules, assembly qualified name. Let me comment this property for now. So now we have populated data for this select options variable. So I'm going to assign this select options variable to the data source property of drop down list. So before I assign data source property, I need to define the t value and t item properties. So to the t value property of drop down, I'll assign drop down options, so which you can view over here, I mean the name of the class. I mean the type value we have specified over here, and to the T item I again define drop down options to this T item, and now to the data source property I'll add select options variable, so which I have defined over here. And the next important thing is I need to map the field names. So for that I need to define drop down list field settings. So inside this drop down list field settings, to the text field I'll map cname property, so which I have displayed over here. So whatever values that I provide here will be displayed as the display name in the drop down list. So for that purpose I am binding this cname property to the text property, and to the value property I'll assign C type, so that the value assigned to this C type will be mapped with the value property of dropdown. So this is enough to render the dropdown list. You can ignore this warning message. So this is nothing but the valid license key is missing. I have not used the license key over here, so let me ignore it. So now you can see the drop down list component is rendered with two options: employee details and meeting schedule. um, Now I want to display a particular option in the selected state. Let's say I want to display employee details. I mean, I want to select this particular option at its initial load. So for that purpose, what I'm going to do is I need to define another property, which is nothing but I'm going to bind the value, I mean the selected value to the bind value property. So before that, let me define a new variable, drop down options. So now to this selected value, I'm going to assign the first object of this select options array to this selected value variable. So now I'll bind the value to the bind value property. I'll assign the selected value property. So automatically at the initial load, the first option will get loaded, and for the better display purpose, let me add, I mean let me place the drop down component inside the div element. Just for the demo purpose I'm doing this, so, and it's not a mandatory thing, as we don't use such kind of stylings for our production level application development. So now let's see how the drop down loads with its initial selected value. So once it is done, we can move on with the dynamic component creation. So let's see. So here you can see the employee details option is being loaded first. So okay, so the drop down is ready now. Now we have to write code to render the components dynamically based on the values chosen from here. So now let's move on to the code. And okay, so as I said that I'm going to display employee details in grid and meeting schedules in a scheduler component. So I need to create a model class to populate those two components with appropriate data. So let me create a models folder and add the appropriate classes inside that particular folder. So I already have the model data with me. So for this demo purpose, I have copied two classes. One is salesperson with the temporary data to be used. I mean, this is the data which I'm going to bind to the grid component. So you can see the class salesperson with a set of properties, and also I have created the list of employee objects over here, and also you can see the meeting schedule class with appropriate properties as well as the objects list of objects created. So this data I'm going to bind to the scheduler component. So the data is ready now, and now to the salesperson details component, I'm going to add the grid code. So SF grid. So I need a data source to be passed to the grid component as well as scheduler component. So let me move on to the index component, and inside this onInitialized method, let me fetch those data from the models folder, and I'll keep it in a separate variable over here so that I can pass those two variables to these two components, meeting schedules and salesperson details from this index component. So there is a reason why I am doing that over here. So I'll tell you that in a couple of minutes now. So before that, inside this imports.razor, I'll access models so that I can access all those methods from here. So I'll define a variable. So this is to uh, get the list of employees, and private list schedule data. And now inside this onInitialized method, to this employees variable, I'll assign salesperson dot get salesperson method. I access this particular get salesperson method, which returns the list of employees objects. So and I'll assign that to the employees variable, and next to the schedule data variable, I'll assign get mating data method, so which returns the list of mating schedule data. So now we have the employees data which can be accessed through this employees variable, and meeting schedule data can be accessed with this schedule data variable. So moving on to the salesperson details component. So here to the SF grid component, I need to assign the data source. So this is nothing but from the index component, I'm going to assign this employees variable. So and also within the code section, so now I have uh, bind this uh, now I have bind this employees details over here, and let me define grid columns to display specific columns in the grid. So there are more properties, I mean there are more columns defined in this employees objects. So I'm gonna add only 5 columns to this grid. So I'm just copy pasting the grid column over here. So you can see 5 columns: first name, title, city, postal, and phone. So these are the fields I'm going to display on the grid. So that's it about the grid code. And to the meeting schedule component, in the same way, I have added the schedule code with appropriate data source. So you can see the data source assigned with schedule data variable. So you can refer that schedule data variable from here. Now we have just created the components separately, but how to trigger this particular component to render dynamically on the page when we choose specific option from the drop down. So let's see how to do that. So for that, let me add two break break tags. And so below this drop down list component, I'm going to render the dynamic components. So now I'll add the dynamic component tag. And so to this dynamic component, I need to specify the type. Type is nothing but now we need to pass the dynamically selected value. So to this type property, what I'm going to do is type dot get type of. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this particular variable's type property. So as we have already seen, C type is assigned with the assembly qualified name. So to this get type, I'm going to pass C type. So this is how we are going to specify the type of the component. So I just define the keyword dynamic component with the type property, and I have assigned the Selected value is nothing but whatever value I choose in the drop down. So this particular variable holds the currently selected object. I mean, um, if I choose employee details, then that particular object contains this C name, C type properties. So it will get the component type through this option and assign it to the dynamic components type. And apart from that, I need to pass the optional params property to this dynamic component. So say for example, we have seen to the salesperson details component, we need this particular employee's data to be passed to this component, right? So these data I need to pass it through the params property of dynamic component. So this is the reason I have added an additional property params to this drop down options class. So now what I need to do to this existing drop down options objects is I'll add additional params to this object, new dictionary. So this is how I'm going to pass the parameter values to the components dynamically. So you can see here I have passed the employees variable which is defined over here in the name of employees. So this employees, I mean this particular name, I'm going to make use of over here. So this name and this particular name you need to take care. So this is what you need to make use of over here, and this name should be same. And to the next object in the similar way, I'm going to pass this schedule data. So after I passed the params to this options, so now to the parameters property, I can assign this params property. I hope you understand this. So this is nothing but the dynamic component which takes the type values at the runtime. I mean at the time of drop down selection. So based on the selection, the values will be updated over here, and also based on the selection, the parameters will be passed to this particular parameters, and it will be passed on to the appropriate components. So if I have chosen employee details, then that particular component will be assigned to the type property. So this is how the dynamic component will work. Based on whatever I choose from the drop down list, the data will be automatically bind to the dynamic component, and based on the data bind to the dynamic component, the appropriate components will be rendered dynamically on the output page. So now all is set, and you can also look at the meeting schedules code over here. So I have assigned the data source as well as few of the schedule properties as per the data that I have passed to the meeting schedule model class. So now let's run and check the output. Okay, so now you can see uh, the grid component is being displayed over here. So as we have set the drop down list to load the employee details option at its initial load. So based on this particular selection, the grid component is being rendered here. And if I choose meeting schedule over here, and you can see the scheduler component is displaying the data appropriately. And if suppose if I again switch over to this employee details, you can see the grid component rendering dynamically. So that's all about the working of dynamic components in Blazor. So I hope this session gives you a little clue about how to work with dynamic components in Blazor. That's all about today's session. And if you have any queries, please do post. So that's it. Thank you.